guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about two mysteries and a horror. So I had every intention of making this a reading vlog, and I did some footage for some of the books and then some books I didn't. So we're just gonna sit down and talk about them, which is cool. This is a murder mystery that takes place in Scotland, and when someone goes missing from a wedding that is being held on this island, you don't get told who it is, and they have to kind of figure out what the heck's going on. And you get a bunch of different points of view. So you get the bride, her sister, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid herself, and then we also get the plus one, who is the wife of the bride's best friend from childhood. You get all of their points of view the couple of days leading up to the wedding, and then the day of the wedding, and the entire time you don't know who did it or who was even killed. I really liked this book. It's really dark, so I kind of went in thinking that it was going to be like more of a whodunit, and we would already know what happened. It would be more like a classical like Clue situation, and it wasn't really. It was more of just getting all of these dark backstories. The atmosphere was insanely written. The groom went to like this all boys school, and a lot of his guests are from that school, and there's this very like weird culty like alpha feeling, and it's very creepy, and you don't know the entire time. It feels very much like anything could happen, something really bad could happen, because they have just this very like animalistic vibe to them. And as the night goes on and as you're getting the wedding flashbacks, you have this just like sense of like people going crazy, I guess, like people turning animalistic and just like giving in to their inhibitions and just giving in, I guess. And you have this like foreboding sense that something bad is going to happen, even if it's not necessarily the murder, just something is going to happen. Someone is going to do something, and the whole time it's incredibly creepy. It's also set on this island that is like very secluded, and there's a graveyard on the island, and the caretakers of the island, the wife is very by the book, very strict, very pointed, just all of that, but her husband is a little bit off, and it just is a very creepy book, and it deals with a lot of really dark topics, and I think it was handled very well. The twist at the end, I will admit, maybe a good 50 pages before you actually find out who was killed, I guessed it. I just wasn't sure who had done it. And the actual person that did it, I'm not mad about. I think I would have liked it to be someone else, but I also understand the person that did it. This is the story of a family, a dad and his son, who moved to a small town. And in this small town about 20 years ago, there was a lot of residents that went missing, and the legend was that the Whisper Man did it, and he would lure children out by sitting in their window and whispering to them. And now, about 20 years later, the crimes have started up again, and they're not sure if it's the real Whisper Man who is allegedly in prison, a copycat, maybe a accomplice that he had back then. They're not really sure what's going on. And so we're getting the point of view of the detective who is working on the case now, a detective who previously worked on the case from 20 years ago, and this case, the dad and a boy, the ones that moved to the town. I didn't really think that this was spectacular. I don't feel like anything was very jarring for me. It felt very lackluster, and I didn't think that the twists were really enough. I am not like a huge fan of detective stories, and while two of the points of view that we get are two detectives, it wasn't too much. I liked the inclusion of like their backstories and things like that, but overall I wasn't very thrilled about the story as a whole. I didn't really think that it was very creepy or anything like that. I was looking for maybe more of like a Silence of the Lambs situation, where they have to like consult the previous serial killer that's in prison and kind of have him help them figure out what's going on. And it didn't really meet my expectations on that end, even though there was a tad bit of that. I just think overall it wasn't anything exceptional, but it was a good read. I read all three of these books, not in one day, but like I read Whisper Man in one day, then I read, like that. So none of them are particularly large, and they're not dense or anything like that. They're easy to get through, but this one in particular, The Whisper Man, wasn't as mind-blowing or as disturbing or chilling as I really was hoping for. Another murder mystery. So A Good Marriage is about an attorney who gets a call from a guy that she used to go to law school with, who says that he has been charged with the murder of his wife and he didn't do it, and he needs her to help him out, to represent him and get him out of this situation. We're getting the point of view of the wife that was murdered. The idea is that attorney is having to look into the interworkings of this bad relationship, and it's making her also reflect on the bad things in her own relationship. I thought that this book was a little bit underwhelming. I thought that it was really going to correlate the two, the case that she was working on because it was a bad marriage versus her own bad marriage and the issues in her marriage. And it did sort of try to interweave the stories, but it wasn't great, and it was pretty clumsily done the way they were interwoven, and felt like it could have been a lot stronger. That being said, I really did like the undertones of the life of the woman that was killed. I think that there were a lot of webs in there. They were all dissected pretty well. I liked the story as a whole. The ending, I didn't really like. You find out two separate things, and I would have liked them to relate, and they didn't really. That was kind of a letdown because I think I saw them relating midway through the book, and it was kind of a letdown that they weren't. But overall, it wasn't a bad read. It was still pretty interesting. Like I said, I still read this pretty quickly. I'm not really a courtroom thriller sort of person. This is a mixed media type of deal. So you're getting court transcripts, you're also getting emails dealing with a plot line in this book, and it's pretty interesting the way it's done, but I think that the plot was a little bit slow. I think that it could have been a lot more fast-paced. The main character, the attorney, didn't really, I feel bust her butt as much as I would have liked. We were getting a lot of interesting details about the wife, the woman that was murdered, but we weren't really diving too deep, or we weren't really getting as much as I would have liked. But overall, it wasn't bad. That was the 3 books that I wanted to talk to you guys about. They were all pretty decent. I didn't really dislike any of them. They were all, an enjoyable time. But yeah, that's it. So if you guys read any of these and you liked them or you had feelings about them, make sure you comment that down below. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks.